Today in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you how 7 people in Level Up just in 2024 have hit their first $100,000 month of close profit. And I'm going to be sharing with you the 3 things that each of these guys have in common so that you can do the same exact things in your business so that you don't miss out on the core pillars that you must have in order to have a 7-figure business. I want to share with you the testimonials that we have so you don't think that I'm telling a lie, so you know that we cracked the code on how to scale businesses to their first $100,000 month. So Brian had his first 6-figure month. I think this was January or February. I know he's on the year done 320K, and last year he did $200,000. So it's pretty incredible. Aaron did $100,000 off 8 deals from adding the lead manager system. Caleb, they added lead manager system, and this was just in February. It's like 21 days. They added about $155,000 to their pipeline. So they're easily going to pass $100,000. Angel closed 120K in February. Jaquez got 4 contracts of $100,000 in 2 weeks. 2 weeks, just from adding in some new sales process stuff, which is super leveraged. Drew closed his best month ever, which is over $100,000 easily. And then Bo secured 5 contracts for their first month on Level Up, all projected and expected to close over $100,000. So that's pretty fantastic. So just want to share with you guys that we are doing this at a high level, and that you can do it as well. So I'm going to share with you the 3 things each of these guys all have in common in their businesses, and like why they were able to hit $100,000 and just triple their businesses basically in less than 6 months. So it's pretty insane stuff here, but it's really simple. So like I said, the things that I'm going to show you are not earth shattering. They're extremely simple, but they must be implemented right. And the reason most people fail when they try to implement these 3 things I'm going to tell you about is because they try to do too many things at once. When in reality, all you need to do is you need to cut out all the noise and just pick one thing. So have a really good decision-making framework, which in my last video, if you saw it, or my next video, I'm not sure which one's coming out first, is a productivity video on how I've built a productivity system around my time so that I'm doing the best task always. And so that's literally what this is. If you can do these 3 things, you can do them one at a time and implement them perfectly, then you will be on your way to having a $100,000 per month business very quickly. All right, so what's the 3 things? So number 1, first thing you must have is you must have a proven lead gen channel. Just one of them. You only need one proven lead gen channel. All these guys have at least one. Some have 2, but most only have 1. And that's super critical because most people think that they need like 10 different marketing channels to get to $100,000 per month. And they want to spend 5K here, 3K here, $1,000 here, and just toss it around everywhere. But in reality, what you need to do is you need to spend most of your money on one channel. So $10,000, $20,000 on one channel, get really good at it, and you'll easily close $100,000 if you can just commit to being great at one channel. And you can pick any of them: direct mail, cold calling, Facebook ads, PPC, PPL, SMS. Whichever one you're doing, run with it. Now, in my opinion, if you're doing SMS, that's the one with the biggest risk of going away. So I would highly recommend you start to diversify at some point in time. But right now, let's keep riding it until the wheels fall off, and start to add different processes into your business so that you can really start to make more money, like the MLS strategy and sales processes, etc. But if you are only doing SMS, do not bank on it forever. Same thing for cold call. Cold call will probably be around for way longer than SMS, at a way different capacity. It's not going to be affected as much. But I would really advise you guys, if you're doing SMS solely, to start to basically learn direct mail, learn how to cold call, learn Facebook ads, learn PPC, learn PPL. They're all super simple. It's just about doing it and finding someone who's done it before and copying and pasting their strategy and doing it until it works for you. I think direct mail is great. I think Facebook ads is great. I think cold calls is great. I think PPC is great. PPL, SMS, they're all great. They all work. You just have to pick it and make it work for you. So let's talk a little bit about the things that you can do with each lead gen channel. So direct mail. Why would you do direct mail? And in my opinion, if you're in one market and your budget's kind of smaller, I think direct mail is a great option. So if you're able to spend maybe $1 or $2 minimum as your minimum marketing spend per month, then direct mail can start to work for you. And so what I've seen working the best is I've seen 2 things that people are doing. And one of them I've never heard anyone talk about, honestly, at all. And it's basically going and doing a buy box list you get from PropStream. So one of my clients is doing this. He's closing 250K a month right now. And I helped him get this set up. But basically, he's doing a buy box list. So basically, anything before, like newer than 1950, anything that's a 2 to 4 bedroom property over 1,000 square feet, anything in a location that he really likes. So that's his buy box. That's his list. Then what he did is he went to this website called reworked.ai, and he put in his list of 200, 300,000 people, whatever it was, and he got out 60,000 people that were above what they call a 100 Betty score. 100 Betty score is like basically the AI algorithm is saying that this person is likely to sell, and you should only market to people over 100 score. He had 60,000 of those records. And so what he's doing is he's sending out handwritten postcards from this guy who I think is honestly quite a genius. But the company's name is Mailbots, and they're doing these letters where or these postcards, excuse me, where they're just sending out these postcards over and over again. So like, what is it, like $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 a month, whatever. And that one drop with that postcard got a 1% reply rate, call-in rate. Booked appointments were between $200 and $300 for that thing, and then the projected ROI was 7.5x. So like it's crushing. People are doing check letters. Check letters are okay. I've seen them work well if you can pay close to 80% of Zillow value. If you can pay 80-85% of Zillow value, that will work. What happens is, and I have another client who's doing this who does have a good ROI on check letters, like around a 4, is he's sending out check letters at like 75% of the value and getting only a few leads, but the leads are converting at a very high rate. But I just don't like the way that flows with the business. It's not my favorite model. But I think direct mail is fantastic, and you can start to do it for really cheap and like do testing in like small areas, and it should work. Obviously, you got to make sure the list is dialed in. That's why Reworked AI is really good, to make sure all the leads are in your buy box. Because if anyone calls you and you want it to be something that you can buy, and then the other side is make sure you have a postcard that's really good or a letter that's really good that works and can produce cheap appointments that convert at a high level. So that's super critical. Cold call. Everyone knows how to cold call. Not going to belabor the point on how to do that. Hire an agency or do it yourself. Super simple. It's really not hard at all. Facebook ads. Facebook ads are kind of coming up as a sleeper right now, and I don't think a lot of people are doing them right. So I have a client who has worked with someone to set up their Facebook ads. And it's really easy. Like I made a test Facebook ads campaign. It was getting leads for like $5.80 on a campaign. And like if I picked a couple markets, it's like $23. Now, granted, we don't know how good those leads were because we didn't have a call system set up for it. Just wanted to test out and see like, hey, can leads actually be generated? It literally took me, like, I'm not lying, 30 minutes to make the campaign and to get leads. So like what I want to say to you guys is like, if you want to learn these things, look up how to learn Facebook ads, YouTube, and then go and watch this guy. His name is Carter Crowley on YouTube. Makes amazing videos on how to do Facebook ads, and just do what he says. He has like 8 videos teaching exactly how he does it and how he closes deals. I think it's like $30 leads or something like that. So like, go find how to basically do these things and just pick a channel and do it great. Same thing with PPC. I think PPC is kind of a little bit nuanced and like it takes a little bit of time, and you got to put a lot of effort into it, just as you do the rest of these channels. So Google it, watch it on YouTube, learn how to do it. I had a guy who presented in Level Up for 8 weeks on exactly how to launch a campaign, how to build your website, how to do everything with PPC, how to manage the campaigns, everything. Taught everyone in Level Up. And it's really not that complicated. You just have to be on top of it, on top of the management and on setting it up the right way. PPL, just click buttons and pay for leads and get them at a price that makes sense. Super easy. And then SMS, we all know how to do SMS as well. But what I want to say here is like, don't be afraid to go and like find someone who can help you with one of these lead gen channels, and then figure out how to make it work for you. Because at the end of the day, you have to figure out how to get leads in the door at a cost that makes sense for you and your business. And if you can do that, you can honestly just scale up and spend more money whenever it's making sense. And if you can't do that, then you're never going to make a profit anyway. So like my philosophy for marketing, this is overall what it is like figure out how to get a ton of leads for really cheap, a ton of people who are interested in selling their property for really cheap, and then pare it back down with quality to fix the main problems you have. So there's another guys I was working with on their Facebook ads. They weren't getting that many leads, like $100 a lead, because their Facebook ads manager was completely screwed up. So I literally sat down with them and went through their ads manager and said, guys, this, and this is wrong. You're not targeting a 55 and plus audience. You're declaring the housing category, doing all these things that you don't need to be doing on Facebook ads. We fixed it. They started getting leads for $5. Now they're getting tons of leads, and the leads are basically bottlenecking the business. So now we fixed the bottleneck by going and taking another campaign, duplicating that one, taking another one, and then making it a little bit more of a qualified lead coming in by asking a couple more questions. And that's it. That's all you do to iterate and change your marketing to fix the problems that tons of leads create in your business. So we're just making it more efficient. And so the idea there is like, how do I make my lead gen blow the leads out of the water? I get tons for cheap. And then how do I make them much more efficient so I can increase my revenue per employee by having great quality leads, right? And so it's super critical. But I just want to say, just pick a channel and make it work for you. That's all you got to do. Number 2 thing you have to do is you have to hire a lead manager. And the reason for this is because you need to delegate out the lowest level task, which is follow up and calling all the crappy new leads. If you do SMS, cold call, even if you have low quality Facebook leads or because you don't have you just are going for volume on Facebook, there is a way to do quality as well. But if you just have low quality leads coming in, have a lead manager qualify all these people. If you're doing things like direct mail or high quality Facebook leads or PPL or PPC where you have high quality inbound leads, you still need to take the inbound call, but then pass off all the follow up of everyone who's not like red hot to your lead manager and have them do all the follow up for you and just set you appointments randomly. And what this will do is this will give you an outsourced way to buy back like 20 hours of your week almost immediately. And they'll be doing a lot of the work for you where you only have motivated sellers on your calendar. And like this one change for most people's businesses is huge. You can see in the testimonials, we pull back up, like Caleb literally went from, he closed 3 contracts in 1 month from his new LM. That's incredible, right? Think about that. Who else was it? It was Aaron. They went from doing $30K per month to they closed, I just did a podcast with them. They closed $115,000. And the only thing they actually changed in their business was they installed systems and then they added a lead manager. And that was the biggest thing that they could possibly do to help with their operation. So what I'm saying is like lead manager is extremely critical and extremely important. So I'm going to show you exactly how to hire them. Because I think it would be huge. So basically, I want to walk you guys through that exact high-level process of how to find this person. So you have 2 options. You can find this person overseas or you can find this person US-based. And so what I would do is if you're going to find this person overseas, you can go a little bit of a different route. And you can also actually do it from this route as well. And then if you are going after a US-based person, just copy and paste this like exactly. So the high-level process is going to be, you want to make the job ad. Because we have to get leads coming in. This is a sales funnel. You're getting leads and you're taking them through each part of the process and then you're selling them on why they should work with you, right? So let's make the job ad. That's going to get us leads coming in. We're going to filter our candidates to find out who's qualified. Then we're going to do a discovery call. This is going to vet out people further. So we're going after the non-negotiables. So discovery call is all about non-negotiables. It's all about culture, all about core values. Role play is to find out, are they actually good at sales? What's their sales fundamentals? And is this someone who's coachable? And I'm going to explain to you how all this works later. Then the 5th thing is a core interview. It's more like a panel interview, kind of like the final interview. It's basically like where you ask a bunch of questions and try to figure out what all's going on. Then the last thing is to make the job offer. So this is the 6-step process to how you can hire your first lead manager, pretty much starting this week. So basically, there's some general tips that I have here. And, I have videos here, but I want to go over these at a high level. If you're hiring anyone, it needs to be a hell yes, because if it's not a hell yes, then it's going to be a hell no. And I think this is such a critical point. And another thing to that, it's basically what I mean by this is if it's not a hell yes, then it's got to be a hell no. Is if you go through the entire hiring process and you're like, should I hire this person? And it's you're not telling your family about this. You're not telling your girlfriend. You're not telling your fam or your friends. If you want to hire this guy and it's a hell yes, you're going to be telling everyone, dude, I found the best guy ever. He's incredible. And if you're not doing that, it's probably a hell no. So I want you to think about that. The other thing is comparison is the best way to tell how good a candidate is. So if you've interviewed 5 people for a lead manager role, then you're going to have a pretty good gauge on where everyone sits in the pie. If you're not stoked any of them, obviously don't hire them. But comparison is the best way to tell how good someone is because you're doing an apples to apples comparison. Super simple. I think another thing is you want to make sure you hold a high standard for past success. And what I mean by this is if you're trying to hire someone who's a great salesman and their greatest accomplishment ever, greatest accomplishment ever. You ask them what's their most proud accomplishment, and they say graduating high school. Now, that could be good relative to like what their family and all this kind of stuff has done. There's nothing wrong with that being like their proudest accomplishment, but that's not like extremely high level where it's like if someone was like my proudest accomplishment was making it to the MLB and playing in the majors. Like that's a little bit different level, right? So we're playing at different levels here. So typically, history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. So if someone's been very good at everything they've ever done, then they're probably going to be very good at the next thing they do. And that's just the reality. No, not always, but it's a very, very good leading indicator. Next thing is question their experiences. Experiences is not everything. I just had a guy hire a lead manager who did not work out. And this dude was super experienced. He'd done the job for like 4 years, which now, granted, if you've been a lead manager for 4 or 5 years, like that could be a red flag in itself because you don't really necessarily want to grow. But that point aside, is it's more about culture fit than it is about experience fit. Because we can teach someone the experience, like how to buy discounted properties. We can teach them how to set appointments. That's all pretty easy. The hard thing to teach is the sales fundamentals. Like, do they actually get how to talk to people? And then do they also fit your culture and have the same goals as you? That stuff has to be true. If it's not, then it's going to be really, really hard. And you're going to have a really hard time teaching these people. So you have to have those intangibles. Last thing is look for impact skills. So you want to look at things that people are really good at. So for example, like if someone's just a really good problem solver, they're really good at connecting with people and they make you feel like, oh, like I really like this guy. That's like a great sign. So it's like look for things that these guys can do to come and be impact players and then figure out how you can build your team around everyone's skill sets. And like this will come as you get a bigger team, like closer to 7, 8, 9, 10, 15 people. But as you're building your team, I want you to think about like, how does this person match up against my skills? How does their skill set help me? Do we have too much clashing, like too much similarity? Or is there a lot of differences? Like, can they act as like a backstop for me in some of the biases that I hold, some of the ways that my brain thinks? And you'll want to think about that kind of stuff. So anyways, that's just general tips for hiring. And I think it's super critical to go over because if you guys don't understand some of those basic things that I've learned from hiring, I mean, I don't even know how many people I've hired, but it's definitely been over 100 and definitely helped over 100 people hire multiple people for them. So, I mean, I've been a part of hiring process for hundreds of people, right? So super critical. So, all right, let's talk about making the job ad. So if you want to hire someone from the US base, you're going to just go to WiseHire and you're going to hire them from there. I have not tested this, but I have been noticing that there's a lot of people overseas in virtual from WiseHire, and you can actually filter overseas on WiseHire. So I think you could definitely do both and just copy the same strategy. The only difference would be if you're trying to hire people overseas, then you're going to want to change the compensation to not be 40 to 80K. This is going to be a US based compensation. If you're going overseas, do it based on like $5 to $7 an hour, and then maybe give them like $100 or $200 bonus per deal. And that's going to bring you to a good spot. So it's going to be somewhere probably between like 10 and 12 grand, something like that would be like a good target. So that's that. Basically, I'm going to open this up. I'm not going to read all this, but you guys can pause it and look at the job titles, company description, job summary, all that kind of stuff. And then just like copy and paste it. Take a screenshot on your iPhone. You can copy and paste the pictures and then just send that to your computer. That way you can just go ahead and copy and paste, put this on your own thing. So you should be able to do that from what I just showed you. So I'm just going to keep moving. All right, number 2, filtering out your candidates. How do you do this? We're literally just going to look at resumes and then be like, is this person good or bad? And so like, I'm literally just going to look and be like, has this person got 2 years of outbound phone sales experience? Have they been doing this job? Do they currently have a job? Have they stayed at jobs longer than 18 months on average? Have they been doing sales for wholesaling or real estate in general? I don't necessarily love agents all the time. I will interview them if they have a really good resume, but most of the time I don't love agents. And then have they also done B2C service product sales? So if they've done real estate sales like wholesaling, or if they've done B2C service product sales, then that's great. And that's really everything you need to know to filter your candidates. All I'm going to do is I'm going to go through WiseHire. So let me just pull it up right now. I'll go through this right here. So if I pull this up right here and I go down and I just look at this, I'm just going to move some people over to qualified. So I'll actually just like pull up a couple resumes that I qualified a little bit ago just because I was looking through it. But yeah, you can see like this person's experience was they were already a lead manager at Integrity First Home Buyer. So some of you guys might actually know that company, pretty big company. And been doing phone sales for basically the since 2018. They've also had some management experience, but this is like a great person. It's like a great candidate. So all I do is move them to the qualified tab, and then I call them, and then we find out if we want to do discovery. We do the discovery call, and then we move on. Same thing for this person. I think this person's thing changed. Yeah, that's not it. See, look, this is overseas. This is like Nicaragua right here. So someone could probably rip this person's phone number and go and talk to them. But this is like someone who's an account manager, setting appointments, cold calling, all that kind of stuff. It's like a good candidate, especially if you're looking for someone overseas right here. Yeah, and so you kind of get the gist. So it's pretty straightforward. You're just gonna literally qualify them and then call them up. And so doing the discovery call, I want to kind of go through this a little bit. Basically, the biggest thing is like I'm going to ask them basic questions to kind of like find out like why were they interested in the job. That's the first question. I want to know if their why is right or if they're just looking for another job. I want to know what were they looking for in an ideal sales role? Like, what does their ideal day look like? Do they call people all day? Do they kind of just like, oh, like I've heard a guy tell me, like, I just want to call people and kind of like, go walk around, take my kids to the park. No, we don't want that in our culture. What was their day to day at their previous role? Like, how are they used to talking to people literally all day? Like, I want to like make it very clear, like this is literally going to be your day. Ring, 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 ring. Hey, getting cussed out, whatever. Like that's your day. And I want to make that clear and set those expectations very clear up front. Because the only time I've ever made mistakes hiring, the only time I've ever made a mistake hiring is not necessarily hiring the wrong person. That happens sometimes, but using the right hiring process, you usually get that out. But it's by setting the wrong expectations up front. And like basically what I would equate this to is imagine hiring someone and telling them, hey, you're going to run a team. Run a team of like 3 people, and we're going to grow this team, and you're going to be a manager, and you're not going to have to do the work, but like you're going to run this team. And then they're going to be like a sales manager, right? And then you actually hire them, and literally their job is to cold call. Like that's their job. Like, of course, the person who does that like didn't sign up to cold call. They signed up to grow a team. So it's not going to work out. And like to me, like that's the most important thing is to be very clear on what the expectations of the role look like and like what is it going to be. Because most of the time, if you make this job sound too easy, then you're going to attract the wrong person. So if you make this job sound like it's going to be very difficult, but it's going to be very rewarding, then you're going to attract a lot more of the right people for the culture that you want to build. And so that's really important on what you're doing. You're not necessarily doing that as much on the discovery call. You are doing it if there's ever a moment that you need to add it in, but it's really important to hold that through the entire interview process. So I just want to know a little bit about their greatest accomplishment, their personal goals, if they have goals, because if they don't have goals, it's usually a sign of not being a high achiever. High achievers have goals, let's be honest. And then how do they compare to the number one sales rep on their team? And then you can kind of go through the rest. It's like we just like kind of want to like understand like why they like how the opportunity fits what they want and like how it's going to solve their problems. And then there's any objections, you guys can pause and read those if you want. I'm not going to keep going over them. And then compensation structure, you can go over this as well. If you're trying to hire a commission only person, the basic thing is like if they ask like what the compensation structure is, be like, yeah, like the compensation structure is typically most people are commission only. And then just like shut up and listen to what they have to say. And then they're gonna be like, oh, I was really hoping for like a base salary or a commission salary. And it's like, okay, well, now it's to the point of you can figure out how you want to address it and if you're willing to pay a base. And like I usually say something along the lines of like, well, yeah, I mean, it depends on like kind of like how you see yourself performing over time. Like most time, the highest achieving people make the most money if they're commission only. But I will say we typically can, like sometimes we can offer people base salaries. That just means the commission is going to be a little bit less, and then just see what they say. And usually you can always get a lower base and then you get a lower commission than you initially wanted. And that's just what you're doing. Obviously you're trying to get them to the same income. So don't like cut their income, right? You're trying to get them to the same range, but they're going to make less money and have less upside if they get a base compared to if they get no base. So that's really that. Yeah, so pretty much it. Next steps after if we like them, we're going to tell them like, hey dude, here's the next call. The next call is that we're going to go over a role play and I'm going to send you a sales script and I need you to go and watch the videos on it. It's going to take you about 10, 15, 20 minutes to like review it. But then I just need you to come prep because we're going to role play that script and I'm going to be the seller and you're going to be the lead manager in this position. And I need you to be able to take me through the sales process. And then boom, okay, cool. You ask them like, how long is it going to take you to do that? Take them through the role play. Now that I'm in the role play call, it's going to be pretty straightforward. I'm literally going to just take them through this script right here. So basically, it's just like our normal script for lead managers. This thing's out there everywhere. So if you don't have it, you could easily get it. It's literally all over the internet, and all over like my other videos that I have. But if you need it, just shoot me a message on Instagram or comment below, and we can send that over to you. Anyways, yeah, we give them a scenario, give them objections, all this kind of stuff. We do the role play. We basically set it up in 2 ways. We do a 30-minute first role play. It's not going to take that long for a lead manager. It's going to take like 10 to 15 minutes for the first call. We give them feedback, give them coaching. We do another one, and then we see how their sales fundamentals are, and we see how their speed to implementation is, and their receptiveness to coaching. And if they have really good receptiveness and really good speed to implementation on the actual coaching itself, then I like that a ton. And if they have good sales fundamentals, then I like that a ton as well. I will say if someone's really coachable and like maybe a little bit less good on the actual sales side versus really good at sales and like not coachable, I'd take the more coachable person every day. Just so I'm choosing between the two. Then after that, we go into the core interview, and this is where we're really going to focus on making a bit deeper of a connection and like trying to have multiple people on here, any people of input that you want on your team to kind of like help you decide if you should hire them or not. Like I said earlier, we're going to go into a lot of different things on this interview. It's basically more of like a deep dive into like them and like why, like what makes them tick, and like really understanding like them. So biggest thing is like start with their greatest accomplishment. We're gonna deep dive. Was it really that good? What kind of adversity they do? They learn from this. How this impacted their life? Who was a coach in their journey? Because like most successful people seek coaching. It's just a very, very good green flag. We can tell if someone has like a large ego or not. Because if they didn't learn anything from this most proud, greatest accomplishment, and like I don't know, like how are they going to learn? They don't have a growth mindset, right? It's super important for me. Then we're going to ask any questions about any green flags. I'm going to ask them specifics on their past experiences. So I'm going to say like, hey, at this last job, working with Integrity First Home Buyers as a lead manager, talk to me about like what the company looked like when you joined and then when you left. And then boom, they tell you about it. Okay, well, what were three of the things that you really impacted on the company during that time period? And then what they need to do is they need to be able to give you very specific examples like, oh, we had nothing in place. So I actually worked with a tech guy, and we met like a couple times a week for a while. And I built out a lot of the automations for the drip follow-ups, and the dashboard and et cetera in Salesforce. And then another thing is we didn't have a sales script. So I actually made the sales script with my other guy where we'd sit on a call together and we'd just really like nail it down together, or whatever, right? You're looking for different things. Obviously, the higher level the position you're hiring for, the higher level these levers that they pull should be, and the more impressive they should be. But what you're looking for is like, can they give you specifics, or they just beat around the bush? If they beat around the bush, it's not that good of a thing because they may not be able to replicate the success that they've had in the past, or the success that they've had in the past. So that's that. Find out why they want to work. Knowing why they want to work is very important to if they're going to be able to do the job well for long term. Basically, after that, just ask them if they have any questions. You should be at this point 30-40 minutes in of asking them questions about the red flags you already had, their product accomplishments, things that have impacted them, their experiences, etc. And then pretty much from there, you're just going to kind of find out what they want an ideal offer. So like, hey, so I think like we like you. We're going to talk about this offline, but we do think like that we like you. And we're considering making you an offer to join our team. What kind of compensation structure are you looking for specifically? And then they're going to be like, well, what are you offering? And basically be like, well, typically like what we do is commission only. Do that whole conversation I had earlier. And then like see if that's a deal breaker. And then obviously if it is, find out like what they're looking for, just like you would with a seller before you give them an offer, right? Same exact thing. And then we're just going to cover the pay structure and like how we get there. So like a lot of times we'll basically explain like, hey, they'll be like, okay, well, if it's commission only, like how do I make with the amount of money you guys, like how much money do you think I'll make? And then you can break it down. And basically the way that I break it down is based on KPIs. So it's like if you had 10 appointments per week, that's the KPI. That should result in 6 contracts per month. And then 4 of those contracts will turn into deals at $30K a deal, which is $120,000 per month. So 5% of that is 6,000, plus your 2K base is 8K. So that's the best case scenario. That's if you're hitting the numbers and doing a really good job. Most people average about 65% of this, which is like $62,400 a year. And then basically they're like, oh, if the average is that, then like I can easily do more than that or whatever it is. And then you're just going to set final expectations. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Tell them when you're going to do the offer. Biggest thing I want you guys to know is do not wait a long time between when you like someone and when you give them an offer. You want to condense that to be as small of a time period as possible. So I'm talking like same day if possible. But in reality, like I'm going to, if I like someone day one, it's gonna be 48 hours. They're gonna have an offer from me if I like them. Because I've lost too many people to um to just other people because I was too slow, and that's not fun at all. So, anyways, that's that. That's hiring a lead manager. I want to go through making a sales process. So number 3 is you got to have a sales process. If you don't have a sales process, you're probably saying something along the lines of like sales is like can't be processed, which I mean I remember saying that at one point in time too, which is kind of funny. That's why I'm laughing. So I'm going to show you guys how to create a sales process, how we do it, because it's super leveraged, super important. So we have like obviously for Level Up like all these trainings and stuff of like how to do everything, like comping process, live calls, getting the contract call process, offer call process, diagnosis process. But I'm going to walk you guys through like exactly what you would need to do to start to build a script and to start to build a lucid chart explaining how the process works. So basically, you really like 0 to 1, we just need to build 2 scripts. And so I'll show you guys how we built the offer call script, because I think this will help most of you guys out the most. It's like the one that's probably the hardest. So the way that I'd like to do this is I like to break it out into stages. So we all have stages of the call, and everyone has their own name for it, and everyone like has their own way of doing it. But if I'm going to break it out into basic stages for an offer call, it's going to be the intro. We're going to set the stage with the expectations. We're going to address the roadblocks. We're going to talk about motivation. We're going to set up the offer. We're going to give the price. Then we're going to negotiate. And then we're going to roll into the MLS pitch. And then any other post-offer objections, it's like a lower thing. And then we have a manager pitch, which I'm not going to talk about in this video. But you guys will get the gist. So if I'm going to go through building this out, I'm basically just going to like walk through the call. So if I'm like doing the call, and I haven't done this for sure, but if I wanted to build a sales process now, having ChatGPT, what I would do is I would download probably 10 calls would be a good number. You could get as many as you want, transcribe them in like Otter AI or something like that, OTTER.ai, or any other transcriber tool. And then I'd upload that transcription and be like, hey, this is a sales call. I want you to remember the way that this call was framed, and then do that for 10 times. And then I guarantee you, if you said, hey, can you create me a script, a framework for my calls or a script for my calls? Could you like do that for me? And then it would spit out something. And then you just have a really good rough draft to start with. Like that would be the best way to do it, probably to start with. But if you want to do the old fashioned way, the way that I do it, and it takes about 30 to 60 minutes for me to help someone do this, then I'm just going to simply go through each part of the call. Okay, cool. What's the first thing you say to the seller? All right, sick. What do you say after that? Oh, I set expectations. Okay, cool. Boom, this is how I do it. All right, well, what happens if they answer after, are you currently in a position to do that? What if they say no? Okay, well, I normally say this. If they say yes, I do this. Okay, and if they say yes, I move on. Now I start addressing roadblocks. Okay, cool. What if all the decision makers aren't present? What do you do? Oh, I do this. Okay, write it out. What happens if they are all there? Well, okay, then I do this, and then I move on. And this is how I'm literally doing it. Okay, cool. Now that like you've gotten all the decision makers there, and I've set I've set the stage for how this call is going to work. What do you do next? Like, what happens after you do that in the call? Oh, I normally just like kind of like dive into like what their situation is. Okay, when you dive into their situation, like what do you normally like? How do you normally do that? Oh, I normally just like kind of like ask them like, we've been talking for a little bit. I know like so and so, insert lead manager name, had mentioned that you've been struggling or had been looking to like move because of you have to move and sell your properties because of the divorce. Sorry, I lost my words there. And then just like start there. Or like we've been talking for a little bit. I'm not even sure like like I haven't even heard like what even has you like looking to sell this property. And then like that's it. That's all you write down. And then boom. Then you have probably a basic motivation framework that you've gotten from us, from Steve Trang, from John Martinez, from Jeremy Miner, whatever sales guy you've been listening to. And like you start asking Socratic questions, or you start asking situation-based questions, or whatever you're doing, or you start mirroring them, or you start labeling it, or whatever it is. And then like you kind of like just build a little framework around like, hey, what we need to do in the motivation phase is we need to go 3 deep into motivation minimum. or whatever it is, right? And then after we go into motivation, we understand their situation. We let them know that we know we can help them. We let them know that we definitely are able to help them. We talk about setting up the offer. And this is where we offer to help them. That's the next step. So once we give them the offer, what do you do now? Well, I give them the offer. Most people say no. Well, what happens when people say no? All right. I say this. What happens when they say, when like that happens? Though I do like, here's my next rebuttals. Here's I kind of work around it. Okay, cool. And then just keep moving on. So like basically the whole point of like what I'm saying right now is that if you actually want to build a process, it's really not rocket science. It's really as easy as just like writing out what you would say in a perfect world. And I want you to remove, like, I want you to think of a process as being 80% taking care of like 70 to 80% of all the situations. And then we have a lot of training, advanced training and management that takes care of the 20 to 30% extra things that the process doesn't cover. So for example, something like that might be objections. It might be like a situation that the seller's in. It might be the seller's ghosting you. It might be whatever it is. It might be the seller says something completely off the wall when you tell them the price. So it's like, how do you handle that? Well, if you handle that the right way, or if you coach them and manage them in a training process where you have a management process where you're training them on a consistent basis the right way, your team, then like that's all going to be covered. And then if you have a sales process and people just follow the process the right way, then now they have the fundamentals dialed in. And then it's just all about advanced training after that. So all I want you to do, if you need to create a sales process, is just write out what you say to sellers for most of the time, and then just start to make it perfecter and perfecter and perfecter, and keep adapting it as often as you need. Like, I mean, change your sales script literally every week if you need to, and just like little tweaks, not changing your process. Cause like the most core process, like, we start with time, you start with their situation and you go into the motivation and you do blah, 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 blah. Like that's all going to be similar, but your tactics of how you actually get them to convert will always be changing and evolving. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. I wanted to share what I think are 3 huge levers that can help you hit your first $100,000 month. And if you're looking to scale your wholesale company to 100K per month and you're around that 250K a year, 15, 20, $30,000 a month mark, then just go below this video, click the book a call link, and hopefully we'll tell you exactly how we can help you on the other side. Now, if you just enjoyed this video and you want to get more free content, awesome. Just go check out the rest of the videos. And if that's the case, then I will see you guys next time in the next video. Peace.